Driven,
Yes.
which is about your life. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a copy of it, so that's what it looks like.
Okay.
That's a kid on
And
the cover. That's me when I was
that's
three
you.
years old.
Yeah. How old were you?
Three.
Three.
Yes.
Okay. There's things that you've obviously written in there that I'm going to question you about. One of them is about the George Turner experience, and then after that, you went to California. The most interesting one that I want to know about is what happened, because all I saw is a photo of Ron Tefel walking out of the lineup with his hand like this, and you were pulling a face, and I go, wow, that must have been something. Where nobody really knows what it's about. You've got something in your book written about it. Um, then that same day, you were in a Mr. Universe pose down, and the guy that got third ended up winning the pose down. And I wanted to ask how you personally felt about that, because if it was me, I would have been like totally confused and lost.
Right.
Um, and your latest contest win, the AAU Mr. Universe for men over 60.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's start with this one, Tony.
Okay.
Modern bodybuilding, what you think of it, and how do we bring back what we had, if it's even at all possible, to your way of thinking?
Yes. The guys weigh like 280 pounds, 300 pounds. And back in my day, I think when I won those shows that I won, I weighed less than 200, maybe 205 max. So aesthetically, it was all about symmetry and proportions and not size. Everything's about size today. So I still look back to the old days and wish we had those days back. The Frank Zane and the Samir Benoot and Steve Reeves' classic physique, because that's what drew the people in. That's what got me involved. Because first time I saw bodybuilder on stage, to me it was like a piece of art.
Yeah,
That spotlight and hit these poses and transition from shot to shot, and that's what got me involved. That drew me in, because your body's a sculpt. You're sculpting your own body.
yeah,
So it's changed quite a bit, and size is everything now. Because I look online, I pick up a magazine, and they say, "So this guy put on 30 pounds this year." So it's all about size and being big, but not really detail with the cuts and separation. I look at the bodies. Yes, they're big, and yes, they're cut, but they're not ripped. We call it ripped back in the day.
yeah, yeah.
Because 3% body fat. So it just changed a lot, but everything changes in time. So can we go back to that? No, it's almost impossible. The classic physique guys is close as we're going to get. They have to do a mandatory posing routine and 5 compulsory poses. So that's as close as we're going to get. But it's getting more competitors are coming into that category now.
Why do you feel that we can't go back to what we had?
I don't know. I mean, Arnold just spoke out about that.
Yeah,
The guys have gotten too big, and the guys are passing away, and all the things they're using, but it's almost too late. It's too late. They've gone too far. I think 10 years ago they should have said that's enough. This is the cutoff. This is the limit. You know, and we want that small waist again. That was the catch. We haven't had the smallest waist on stage. The Brian Buchanan. I think he still has the smallest.
yeah,
Okay, I may be second in line. So, but that was it. The small waist, broad shoulders, the taper and the lines and proportion and presentation and chemistry on stage. All that stuff worked into winning the contest. So it's not about hitting a couple poses and waiting for the crowd to cheer you on. You had to create a routine, and that was the fun of watching bodybuilding and especially in America on ABC and NBC nationally, was to watch the routines. It was entertainment. You're a performer.
yeah.
So, how dry and exhausted you are, but you're still smiling. You're going through the routine. The crowd's going crazy, and you're all fired up. So that's entertainment. You go to watch a show, and now there's no show. It's just big guys, and when they flex, nothing really happens. For me, nothing happens. I was a little guy, and they said I always looked like 10 or 15 pounds heavier on stage than backstage. They would run backstage and go, "Wait a minute, was that you out there?" Yeah, it was me. Because of the small joints, small wrists, the waistline, the hips, small hips, and how you present the poses. You have to be a master at hiding your flaws and
Yes.
only bringing out the strong points.
Tony, can you run through your contest history. I'm not sure what your first contest was, and when you won that Mr. America contest, was it 1978?
1978. Well, leading up to the Mr. America contest, the first contest I won, I have to tell, was Mr. Venice Beach, and I was so excited.
Okay, that was the
was
first
proud.
time you entered and won.
Yes, and yes, because back in St. Louis, I did a couple of shows like the Mr. Missouri, Mr. St. Louis. I think I placed sixth and the third. It's all in the book. And then when I got to California and I competed in the Mr. Venice Beach, it was a big deal in those days because a lot of the guys from the beach went on to become world champions. Yeah. Charles Glass and John Brown and a lot of these guys. So you're up against tough competitors even at that stage. So I won that, and I said to my friend, I'm going to be Mr. America in 2 years. And he started laughing. Sure, you will. You know, I'm 19 years old. And, but it happened. I did pull it off in 2 years. So I don't know. It just, that was the beginning. That got me. And then when Arnold came over and was watching me train on Muscle Beach, it was 100 degrees outside. Yeah. And I'm squatting 400 pounds and set after set after set. He wrote that in his book. Yeah. And he said, you know, you're going to be a great champion. And he took me through the workout. He sent me to see Joe Weider for the first time. I mean, I had heard of Joe Weider, but I never met the guy. So he sent me to Woodland House to his office. And yeah, that's how it all began. That, you know, I was hooked.
So Tony, back then, you were probably living on Venice Beach or somewhere in the vicinity. What went on in the background? What was your life all about? How were you earning money at that time? I wasn't even sure how people lived in that era. Nobody seemed to be working. Everybody seemed to be on the beach, training and being photographed for magazines. What actually went on in the background?
That's true. I was really struggling. I was homeless for a while, and then I met some friends and ended up moving in through their house. I wrote about that part too. So you know, people would help you back in those days. Yeah. You see some kid, he's struggling and he's doing well and he's trying to be something, and people step in and said, "Hey, I can help you out." You know, unlike today. But yeah, I was helped a lot of people. I was very supportive with a lot of people, and for work, I became a security guard. You know, I went to Gold's Gym, and all these guys says, "Hey, you need a job?" I go, "Yeah." So a suit and tie, work in concerts in LA, like the Stevie Wonder show, Kiss, Rod Stewart, all these guys. And that's my job. You work 8 hours a night and you train as much as you can throughout the day. Okay. But still struggling because, you know, just barely. I had a one little bedroom apartment right on the beach. And Gold's Gym was like 6 blocks down, Pacific Avenue. So I would walk to the gym. I took the bus everywhere, or I walked. Didn't have a car. I mean, just struggling. I mean, yeah. You know, you go. I said I'm moving to California, and I don't care what's going to happen. I'm just going to go. Yeah. When you're 19, you can do that. You have no fear. Yeah. Then I got there and I realized, oh, this is dangerous. This is scary. I could die here. My family don't even know where I'm at. You know, in LA, they can't find you, and I didn't know anyone there. So it was just something that came over me. You've got to get to California, and you got to go now. And that's what was in my heart, and that was in my spirit. And I just jumped on a one-way bus, one-way ticket. And I told us, I'm not coming back. This is it. I'm gone.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that, because I often wonder how people made it through periods of time, because all we saw was you in the magazine. You looked incredible. You had this conditioning, which was just incredible at that 1978 Mr. America. I don't know what you looked like at your other shows, because that was prominent. That was the first time I saw you. And I remember watching that, and you know, how impressed I was, because I think my first contest was in 1976. And I remember how difficult it was dieting and getting in condition. And then you came along, and I'm going, well, look at this. Look at the suffering this guy must have done to look like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, part of the conditioning was starvation, because I couldn't afford to eat. I look back, I was 19. I must have had incredible genetics, because I was not eating, maybe 1 meal or 2 meals a day max, training like a beast, and still grew and still held on to my muscle size. It was strange. I mean, think about that.
2 meals a day.
Yeah, a couple of meals a day. And that was tuna fish, coffee, and water, and maybe some Gatorade. I mean, that's what I was living on. I mean, they threw me out of the gym once because there's tuna, stinking up the place here. You need to go outside with that tuna fish. You can't have that in here. But yeah, I remember lying in bed a month before that show, and I could feel my stomach touching my backbone.
Yeah.
I mean, really starvation. But it helped me on stage.
What was your second meal of the day? One of them was tuna and coffee. I heard about that. So
Yeah, my friend he would make chicken. This guy named Kent King. You know who Kent King is? He was
yes,
the
yeah,
manager of Ghost Gym.
yeah, yeah,
Wonderful man. He passed away.
yeah.
Very good friend of mine. He would call me up. Get over here. We got some chicken and salad. So that's what he was feeding me. And then
Wow.
I had a couple of training partners training for that show. One of their girlfriends worked at a restaurant up in Santa Monica. So we would train every day and we'd go there and have a meal. That's how I was eating. It
That's
was just
incredible. Yeah.
grab a meal whenever you can get it.
That's not something that I would see happening today from the sounds of it. Back that actually sounded like a golden time to live in. It was must have been a really good time, and I often look back and say, you know what, I wish I was there. I was watching it all from Australia and getting all the American bodybuilding magazines and seeing all of this. But what I also noticed about you, Tony, we were on a Grand Prix tour around Europe. And what I
Mm-hmm.
noticed every time we sat down to eat, I'd watch what everybody was doing. And you always used to leave something on the plate. And I said, this guy has a small waist for a reason. Look at that. You finish everything and you walk away bloated. This guy's leaving half of what he just had on the plate, and he's got a waistline that represents the way he's eating. So I noticed
Right.
that, and you've probably never really been a big eater, have you?
No, you're right. Thank God, because if you want to eat, you got a problem. I just eat to survive, and I eat small meals, always small meals. I know this guy's eating 2 or 3 chicken breasts at a time. I have half the chicken breast.
Yep.
I'm okay. And I guess that part of it has to do with me growing up too. I grew up starvation. You read that in my book. I was starved to death for 12 years. So that was part of it. So transition to bodybuilding is perfect. You're starving most of the time.
Yeah.
You get that lean cut. But my waist was small, stomach small, and I'm not really into food that much. I eat to have enough muscle to go on stage, you know, but not to just eat to enjoy. No,
So you've never binged on food, you've never pigged out or gone overboard on anything and made yourself sick from overeating?
never. No. And this excuse of bulking up is just an excuse to eat.
Yeah, yeah,
There's no bulking up season because, in the 70s and the 80s, once I had won a couple of titles, and to get some work, you had to be in shape, seminars, exhibitions.
hmm
And when you show up for these shows anywhere in the world, they expect to see you as you were in the magazine, not 20 pounds heavier. So I made a pride, took pride into showing up always in shape.
yeah.
Promoters would call me from around the world and said, I will be there.
Okay, that's interesting. And what was your weight? What did it,
When I won Mr. America, I think I weighed about 185. I'm 5'8", height wise.
well, that's,
But when you really cut and the light's right, and I have to say that the light was really superb that night because it really shows the sharpness, just enough light. You know what I mean? So that helped me a lot too. The light helped. And another situation that happened on stage was they closed, we had 30 seconds, had 1 minute posing routine,
yeah,
and I stayed a minute and 45 seconds.
right.
So they closed the curtains on me,
Okay.
and the guy said, thank you, Tony. So when the curtains reopened, I was still posing. He never stopped posing. Because I said, I come this far. This is my one chance. This is it. It's all or nothing. I'm going to continue. I'm going to finish my routine. That's all I said. I'm going to finish my routine.
Okay, that's
And the
interesting.
crowd went ballistic behind that. They really went crazy. There's like 5,000 people screaming their heads off.
So that was the Mr. America contest that you won.
Yes, but before that, I had won 2 shows that year that no one talks about. I won the Junior Mr. USA and then
Yeah,
Junior Mr. America.
yeah,
In those days, that's a big deal
yeah,
because you was in national titles, and the competition was really tough in those days.
yeah.
I mean, to win those shows. So I had won 2 shows going in, but Ron Tufa had won Mr. California, which he beat me.
hmm
And he had won
Right.
2 weeks before Mr. USA.
Right. And did he
So
beat you at the Mr. USA?
Mr. California,
Did he beat you at the Mr. USA as well, or
I didn't compete.
you didn't compete?
I was not there.
But he
Yes.
got you at the. He placed ahead of you in the Mr. California.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. In fact, he kind of kicked my butt. But that inspired me. That motivated me a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay. But I didn't think about the contest. I was just focusing on my diet, my training, and just show up and my posing. I put a lot of time working with my posing because I was not a great poser at the time. And I was nervous on stage. I'm very shy, introverted type of guy.
Yeah.
But then I learned how to pose, and then I love the stage.
Yeah.
It flipped on me, yeah.
So Tony, I wanted to wait until I asked this, but now that we're on the subject, when you were called out for first place or Ron Tufel was called out for second place, what was that hand gesture of his? He walked out of the auditorium. I'm not sure what happened. You were pulling a face as if to say, shame on you, almost. I'm not sure what all that was about. Could you please give us a little bit of clarity on that? Because I've that photo's been stuck in my head for years and I've never ever known what's behind it.
Okay. So you had to win your class. Thank God I had never had to weigh in competitions. Thank God, because you lose muscle size just to make weight.
Yeah.
So it was by height class. I was medium height class. I won my class. Manuel Perry, you know who Manuel Perry is?
Yeah.
He's incredible for the double for the Hawk, Incredible Hawk.
Yeah.
And then Ron Tufa won in the short class. So we were all standing there, posing all day. I'm exhausted. I mean, really wanted to collapse. And then the announcer says, he calls my name. So I'm thinking, oh, I got third. Yeah. Not being aware of what's going on. So yeah. I'm third place. And then Tufa, he slapped himself in the face and his head, and he's storming around the stage going, rip-off, screaming at the top of his lungs, this is a rip-off.
Wow.
And I'm like, my mouth dropped. That's when I realized I won. I won. And Manuel Perry was standing, and he's looking at me like he's a very tall guy. He's looking down at me like this. Yeah. The amount of drama on that stage, Hollywood couldn't put that together. Yeah. And he had the trophy girls standing on each side of us. It was just, and the crowd was going insane, yeah. Booing and cheering. It's just drama. There's one picture in the book that shows that whole scene. Yeah. Exactly. And Tufa lost it. He really lost it. And then at the very end, I try to shake his hand. He slaps my hand. He started screaming again. He ran off the stage. So, yeah.
So what did he do? Just walk out of the auditorium and left?
He just ran backstage and never came back out and just disappeared. He was never the same after that show. No. That show, took a lot. But instinctively, I said, I have one chance here. That's why I continued to pose. And in the pose down with him, it was just toe to toe, pose after pose, yeah. Maybe 5 or 10 minutes, because posing count on the score sheet back in those days. Yeah. If you didn't, especially in the pose down, I was told, do not stop posing in the pose down. Mm. Competitor might stop, you continue to pose. Yeah. That's how you win that round. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I did. Most muscular shot, back, spread, you name the back and whatever it is. Yeah. Toe to toe, he flexes his legs and his abs, and it was a real showdown.
Did you, I'm sure you had a posing routine worked out, but for
yes.
the pose down, I always used to have a separate routine. It was just my thing. I'm just wondering with you, if you had some preset routine.
Absolutely, yes. And I was told, do not follow his poses. Do not try to match his shots. Yeah. Do your own shots. Let him follow you. Yeah. And I want you to stand a half a foot ahead of him. Yeah. So you look big in the picture. So I had the most muscular pose, front, lat spread, back, I was doing a lot of spinning, the crush, back poses. I had a routine, yes. I knew exactly what I was doing. Don't change the routine. Just continue to do it over and over and over.
Okay. Look, you had a trainer by the name of George Turner. I think he, correct me if I'm wrong, was he the person that tutored you and got you started, or did he come along later?
I was on the wrestling team, and I injured my knee and had surgery, and so that kind of put an end to that career. And my wrestling coach saw me working out one day in the weight room at high school, and he said, "Hey, you've gained a lot of muscle size. You know, you want to go to a real bodybuilding gym? He worked out. And I didn't realize he was friends with George Turner. I just found it out recently they were good friends. And I said, yeah, of course. You know, what, 16 years old? So I go to George Turner's gym. He had he had 6 gyms in town. Okay. And he was king. You know, he was a great trainer. He had 5 world champions come out of this place. Right. So I go to the gym and I was training. It was brand new. It had just opened. And I was in heaven, you know, like a kid. I did all the exercise. You name it, I did it. Yeah. And George, ex-Marine, sitting in his office, he's watching everybody on the floor. And he came out, gets in my face, goes, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, get in my office. So 16 years old, here I am shaking like a leaf. And he goes, I'm going to train you. Be here tomorrow at 6 p.m. Don't be late. So that's how George came into my life. And he said, I'm going to start with those bird legs you have. Build the legs. And I had to do squats Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 sets of 10, up to 350 pounds. So at that age, I was squatting 350. And don't miss a rep. I mean, he's counting reps for you. If you ever told George, I can't do it, you know, I'm too sore, I'm tired, he would throw you out of the gym in 2 seconds. Okay. He threw so many people out of the gym. If you drop the weight, if you bang the weight, if you're screaming, making noise, if you're playing music, you're out. Okay. This is ex-Marine, so. Yeah, no, so I kept my mouth shut the entire time for 9 months, and that was the routine. Basically, he focused on my legs, which I'm grateful for. I mean, without George, I would never be a champ. I would never get into bodybuilding. I loved it, but how do you get involved in it? I mean, who's going to guide you, you know?
So what was your routine? So you're doing 10 sets of 10 chin-ups, 10 sets of 10 squats, 3 days a week. Was it?
Yeah. Well, Monday, Wednesday, Friday was a squatting session, period. Just squats.
Just squats.
Yes, because you're dead after 10 sets. I mean, by Friday, I couldn't get out of the car. I was so sore, I couldn't get out of the car. But you don't tell George that. You start squatting. Yeah. And Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, he had me doing 10 sets of 10 of pull-ups. And that's how my back got wide. Not thick, but wide. Right. And he was building a foundation. I look back and go, he knew exactly what he was doing. I think he saw something in me that I didn't see. I didn't see throughout my career. I didn't see it. He said, "Oh man, you look great." I said, I don't think so. So George saw the symmetry in the bound and the small waistline, and in the small bone structure, and my desire. I was really loving it. I mean, in bodybuilding, you have to love it. You can't just do it for the paycheck or fame. It's something you have to really appreciate. I train for myself, you know. I go to the gym every day training for myself. I made a career out of it. Okay.
Tony, what was the rest of the routine? Surely you weren't just squatting, and surely you weren't just doing chin-ups. Was there anything else? Did you do hamstrings?
A little bit of deadlifting. He never worked my chest. We never did arms. Really? I would sneak on the side. I would sneak and do some stuff. Yeah. Maybe in high school, I would go to the gym there and work my arms as chest, bench press and all that. But no, George had 2 things in mind. I'm going to give the kid some legs. You're going to have the biggest back. Because having a great back in those days was a major deal. Mm-hmm. If you didn't have back development, you can just go home. Because when you turn around, you're going to get beat. So everybody had a great, look at Robert Robinson's back. All from the 70s, all these guys. Zane, Arnold, the back. Franco, the back. That's the winning key. So he was determined to make sure I had a back and legs. And when I got to LA, Arnold took me through a workout on Muscle Beach that day. And I look back, I go, why did he train my chest and triceps? And I go, oh, it was weak. That's what he saw from a distance. He said to me, I've been watching you for months, which I didn't know. He hung out on the beach all the time, him and Franco. And he goes, I've been watching you. So I didn't know that. And so we did chest and back, chest and triceps. Very weak chest and no triceps. I had a good, biceps were good. Shoulders okay. But that's what I needed. And George was strange. He had his own idea of training. And people complain, either you love him or you hate it. For me, it was a love-hate.
I heard a lot about him, and there was a period of time, Tony, that I lost touch with what was going on in the bodybuilding world. I don't know what you did in that period of time. I saw a couple of photos of George Turner in Iron Man, and he had age on his side. I don't know when he passed away. I never heard anything like what. There was a period of time where I'm not sure if you stepped out or you stopped competing, or I just missed what was going on. I think from the late 90s to through maybe to 2010 or whatever, I didn't see you. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was just me. I was not paying attention. And when did George Turner pass away?
Oh, 2000. He was 83 when he passed. 2012, maybe?
Right. Okay.
Yeah. 2012, I think.
And
He was
those
83.
gyms, what happened to his gyms?
Oh, another thing about George Turner, he didn't pay bills.
Oh,
So the IRS came in and took all of his gyms.
wow.
Yes. So he died with no money, poor, in this place, assisted living home that he was in.
That's really sad. Did he have a family, wife, kids, or anything?
His wife divorced him because George was up there. He had kids. In fact, we just contacted one of his sons,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a documentary coming out,
Yep.
the Tony Pearson story, and we went to George's gravesite,
Right.
and I talked to George, and we filmed it. So that's going to be a part of that. So
All right.
he did a lot. He did a lot for so many people.
Yeah. When is that
Really.
documentary coming out?
We're guessing October.
Yep.
October, yeah. It's been going on for 2 years now, so
Who's the
I think we're
person?
very close.
Who's the person that's been shooting it?
Who's the person?
Yeah.
Tequila Mockingbird production company from LA.
Oh, okay.
They're from LA, yeah.
So did they approach you, or how did it come about?
Life is strange because I have a client here in Vegas.
Yeah.
Oh, have you heard of Eric the Trainer?
Erica Trainer. I don't.
Eric the Trainer. He's a trainer to the stars. He's very popular in America. He's trained all the movie stars, you name it, he trains them.
Okay.
And then he said, I want you to train me. You're the only guy that's going to train me.
Okay.
He'll come all the way to Vegas to train with me, do a few sessions.
Yep.
One day he brought a friend with him,
Yep.
and Steve, and they introduced me, and they said, well, I know this girl who owns a production company, and you should talk to her.
Yeah.
So she read my book,
Yeah.
and she said, I read it twice. We're going to do this. Did you know that she's Joe Weider's daughter?
Really? Wow.
Yes. Yes. So what are the chances me meeting this guy that knows her? She reads the book. Now the daughter's doing a documentary about my life. So yeah,
Okay.
that's how it all came about. And it's based on the book about what happened as
So
a child.
You wrote that book, or did you have help? Did you just write it all by yourself? How did it
You
come
know,
about?
if you had told me 8 years ago you're gonna write a book, I would laugh. Really? I have no idea how to write a book.
Yeah.
Sorry, just being honest.
Yeah.
But then it just hit me one day. My friend said, you should write that. You should write a book. And I just started writing. I had a ghostwriter from England to help me out in the beginning. But I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, the deep South, African American. But I sounded British when she wrote it. There's a lot of British words there, and I go,
Yeah.
I can't do this. This is not going to work. They're going to laugh at me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I fired her. I said, here's your paycheck. I'm going to do it myself. And I wrote it myself.
Okay.
I just said, I got to write the book. Got to finish it.
How do we get the book?
It's on Amazon.
Okay.
Just type in Tony Pearson
Yep.
Driven.
Yep.
And it come up. So it's been 2019 it came out. It's really about my childhood growing up. So it's not about bodybuilding. Of course, it's included a lot of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
But it's how I grew up in the South and civil rights and what I went through. I was tortured, and it's a survival story.
Yeah.
And hopefully a bunch of kids will read this, or adults, who's dealing with the same type of issues that they stash away and don't want to talk about, don't want to face. You know, I made a promise to myself when I got to California, I would never expose my childhood or how I grew up. That was it, because now I read the magazines and they build me up like this major star, and I go, I have no idea where I'm from. So it took a lot of courage to actually tell the world, this is what happened.
Right.
But the message is you can survive. You know, you don't have to. People make excuses for being bad as adults. Well, I had a tough childhood. A lot of people have a tough childhood, but they don't rob, go to jail, do drugs, and all these things. You don't have to. You have a choice.
Yeah.
So I chose bodybuilding, which saved my life. That was my go-to place. That was my happy place, and I made a career out of it. Not trying to, it just happened. But so that's the story, and I think she was inspired by the story, not about bodybuilding, because the average person don't want to hear about how many contests you won and what diet you're on.
Yeah.
They want to hear a story they can relate to.
Yep.
And I had so many people write back to me and go, man, that chapter, that was me growing up, or this happened to me, the exact same thing. I had a friend visiting me. She read through the book, about 4 or 5 pages, certain chapters, and she threw the book across the room. She goes, I don't want to go there, because it brought back her own stuff.
Yeah.
So it's hard to expose. You know how we lock that stuff away with a key and throw the key away?
Yeah.
But it's okay. And I feel so much better now that I felt like I was living a lie all those years. You know, I competed for 20 years, had a 20-year career, and a lot of publicity and coverage, but that's not the real me. So
Interesting. So Tony, throughout your career, you had, you know, what you learned with George Turner. Then you had Arnold tutoring you, which would have been really great. I want to talk about what you've learned as far as, you know, everybody says you've got to go heavy, your load, what you feel, rep range, tempo, which I believe you did things a little bit differently, and from what I've heard, you know, it probably very smart the way you handled everything. Could you give us a little bit of insight into the training, please, and what, as you became more experienced,
mm-hmm.
what was the ideal way? You know, you got people like Dorian Yates, where the only way he felt he could improve was just to increase the load.
Right.
I've heard you talk, and you talk about some things which I really agree with. You know, feeling it, the way you do your curls, the peak contraction at the top.
Yes.
Just how you train now. I heard you talk about putting 135 pounds on a bar and doing reps with it and blowing your legs up. Please explain all of that, because it seems like, you know, there's no need for the heavy weights and hurting yourself the way some people have done.
True, that is true. When I first got to Gold's Gym in Santa Monica, you know, they packed up and moved from Venice to Santa Monica for 4 years. And I would watch all the pros. I didn't have any titles, but I was watching the pros, and the guy who stood out most was Robbie Robinson. He was top of the game at the time. Him and Frank Zane battling out every year. And I was there. I was witnessing all of this. Joe Weider come take their pictures and all this crazy.
Yeah.
And I watched him train. I go, wait a minute. Why is he training heavy one day, and then light one day, and then moderate one day?
Yeah.
And then I had the opportunity a couple of years later to train with him. And then I realized, he goes, you train heavy, moderate, and light. You can't train heavy all the time. You're going to burn out or injure yourself. One or two. And you don't get that sharp, crisp look from doing heavy all the time. So my whole career, in the beginning, I did train fairly heavy because he would throw the heavy stuff in there, which was fun. I enjoyed doing it. It's nice challenging that I could move 145-pound dumbbells around, or squatting at 300-400 pounds. But then as my career went on, I realized you don't need heavy, because you kind of build a foundation in the beginning. Once you build the foundation, I think moderate weight is much better with more reps, the volume of reps.
Foundation, do you think you need to go heavy to build a foundation, or is it just that's what we were thrown into in the beginning, or
You need to go heavy sometimes
Yeah.
in the beginning to build that
Sometimes.
foundation. Sometimes, not all the time. You know, you can't train the whole year heavy, heavy, heavy. And that's what Robbie did. We would mix it up. But this guy would take a lightweight and his arm just grow in front of you. How? That's about form and technique. So mentally, you're totally connected. Tell all my clients, if you're not feeling the muscle, it's not working. We're not throwing weights, we're using weights. So your muscle have to, the positive and the negative. I want you to feel both phases of this. Don't curl it and then drop it.
Yeah.
Or drop into the squat. Use your legs to sit down into the squat.
Yeah.
Don't lock out at the top. Continuous tension. Whatever happened to the phrase continuous tension on the muscle? We lost that. We was taught that. That's when the muscles is under stress, and if you're controlling it, it's under pressure for a long period of time. That's when you get more results. I see people do the set 8, 9, 10, and in the last 3, they speed up the reps so they can drop the weight. They don't want to feel the pain. In bodybuilding, if you can't handle the pain, you got to go to different sport. So that's part of the idea. In the last 15 years of 20 years, I've been using moderate weights, more reps, and really focusing on control, technique, and form. Everything I do is precision. They call me the doctor because like precision. And you got to feel the pump. If you're not feeling the pump, it's not working.
With your training, I would imagine, actually what I did want to ask you is how many days a week do you each body part, does it get hit once a week, twice a week?
Okay, I won that show when I was 63, the universe thing, and I was training twice a day, just like old school.
Yeah.
But then at 63, I realized my body couldn't take that anymore.
Yeah.
That was my last show. I said, it's time to walk because of dehydration and the wear and tear, the age factor.
Yeah.
And my mother's telling me, please stop. So yeah, so you've gone too far. You have nothing to prove, just stop. But I entered that show because I was here in Vegas, his hometown. Why not do it? But since then, I've been training once a day, maybe 5 days a week. Like I said, I enjoy training; it's part of my life. So
each body part gets hit how many times in the week?
I'm doing each body part once a week now.
Once a week.
Only once, just enough to maintain what I have, the size that I have. Just trying to maintain it.
Can you give us a typical leg workout that you do?
I do regular squats, like I said, the 45s on the bar.
You won't go any heavier than the 45s.
No, don't need it. So, like I said, I built the foundation years ago, so I still have my legs, thank God. But but the volume of reps, and not locking out.
Yeah,
I'm watching all these videos on IG and YouTube channels. And everyone's locking out. I go, if you don't lock out, my clients know you're going to do 15 reps and you're not going to lock out with that light weight. But it gets very heavy when you don't lock out. Yeah. And if you're controlling it, you're not just dropping and dropping and dropping, you're really using your legs to do the sets and doing the reps. So that's what I've been doing. I mean, I do leg extensions, leg curls, squats, and the sumo squats. But I do maybe 4 sets of each. There's 8 sets of squats, really. And maybe sometimes some side lunges or forward lunges.
Right. Okay.
And that's my routine. A few sets of leg curls, I'm done. I'm just trying to hold on to the little size that I have. And now, back in the day, I was squatting heavy. You know that, yes.
Yeah. And calves?
Twice a week.
Yeah.
Seated calf raises.
What do you do? Because I have a weakness there. I've always had a weakness there, and it hasn't been easy. and I know for you they lagged behind a little bit. So you know, it's one thing asking Tom Platz how he built his calves. It probably didn't need. Then talking to you, like you actually, had to do the work where maybe Tom Platz didn't even train him. So why ask him how he built his legs?
Trust me, Tom never trained his calves.
Well, there you are. I
saw him in the gym every day. Oh, he was squatting like a beast. Never. He didn't have to. Right. And Chris Dickinson was seen. He said, I do calves maybe twice a month. And I went, what?
So what do you do for calves?
Seated calves. or on the leg press, feet straight, toes out, toes in, maybe 4 or 5 sets.
Of one exercise twice a week.
Yes, for the calves, yes.
All right. So
Squat.
are you sure you have finished competing and you're not going to get up on stage again? Because I know you're going. I just feel you're going to do it again.
I don't think so. And Biden said no. I listened. I quit twice before that last show. I said I can't do this.
What do you
the
mean
age,
quit?
I just was not getting in shape. The body that wasn't coming off, and I was training twice a day, and I was cramping, getting cramps all over. And I can't do this. But then I said out loud to myself, "You have never quit, so you're not going to quit now." And I'm back on the program. Thank God I went through it. I pushed through. But you can't quit. See, I didn't have trainers. I don't have a nutritionist. I don't have a team backing me up. My whole career, none of this. I did it on my own. No one needs to tell me what I need to do. You know, they're getting all these speakers and motivational speakers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need a speaker to tell me what to do. I know what to do.
Look who you had. George Turner, helped you with a great foundation. Then
yes.
you had Arnold Schwarzenegger after that. Like,
yes.
Who do you go to?
And then Robbie Robinson after that.
Robbie Robinson, like they're three of the best people you could ever come across.
Yes, and I was blessed to have those guys in my life. And then I had training partners after that. And then after 10 years or so, I'm going to do it myself. Every show that I did, I trained myself alone, know how to diet, and just get it done. Just go twice a day and get it done.
Tony, how do you eat now? What is your diet?
Chicken and rice still.
I heard this is going to be all over the internet. Everybody's going to. You don't like birthday cake.
I don't like birthday cake?
Yeah. So
I used to love carrot cake. I would tease the competitors because back in the day, had this fast metabolism, right? Crazy fast, which would make me a hard gainer. Yeah. But I would go backstage or in the meeting for the competitors, and I'd have cake in my hand, eating cake. They go, we hate you. I go, see you tomorrow on stage. I like sugar and I like cookies and I do like cake. So but I have cookies occasionally I do. But I live on chicken and rice, yams. Really strict diet still.
So your breakfast would be?
I have the eggs. I hate to say I have chicken for breakfast and brown rice or oatmeal.
Okay, so we're talking egg whites, whole eggs.
Yeah, the 4 eggs, 2 yolks.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's your protein. That's the protein.
That's
source.
the protein, and a small piece of chicken. Like I said, I eat very small amounts, very small. Yeah. So I'm still having maybe 4 meals a day.
4 meals.
I'm not 100. Yeah, not 100%. When I'm doing a show, everything's on point. Yeah. When I'm not doing a show, it's like whenever I'm hungry. Yeah. I'm like a switch. If I'm doing a show, I'm so all in. But if I'm not doing a show, I don't want to talk about bodybuilding. I'm not a bodybuilder. I just have a normal life. So it's very strange. I'm strange.
No, I think everything that you do is very positive and quite smart. And I think people should take notice of what you're doing because at your age, you look fantastic. When you were younger, you always seemed like you were really well groomed, and when you stepped on stage, it was just such a professional act. It was sometimes I dreaded it because I'm going, look at the trouble that this guy's gone to, even in a couples contests. That on stage, the way you presented yourself, everything was like somebody to look up to. When I used to compete against you, I was always like, remember this guy, who he was, what he's done, like I always had a great deal of respect for you, more so than some of the other people. And I've always watched you simply because from that Mr. America contest and that condition. And I competed in 1976 at the age of 17. And the workouts that I did, the diet. And then I saw what you looked like. And I said, wow, this, you remember what you did. Just imagine what this guy had to do to reach that conditioning and winning a national title and destroying people like Manny Perry and Ron Tufel, who was the favorite. You know, so I said, this guy's got something about him. He's quiet. He doesn't boast. He's like beating the very best people. You know, I've watched you throughout your career. You're standing on stage next to Sergio. You've competed in every federation. You've won.
I know.
So you won the AAU Mr. America. That was a big one, right?
Yes.
Then did you win the amateur Mr. Universe with
No. You know, I don't know if you read the book. I won Mr. America, and then I got suspended, a life suspension.
Really?
Yes.
For what?
It's all in the book. Well, what happened was, you know, normally when you win Mr. America, you think you can get this contract with the Weeders and cover the magazine. You know, nothing came in. The door was closed. So I'm starving again. I'm homeless again. I went homeless.
Again?
Yes. So this guy, after about a year and a half later, this guy in Rhode Island called me and says, "Hey, I want you to guest pose at a show." No. This is what happened. I went to Belize in Central America to do a guest posing. And the promoter said,
I didn't get that name.
It's a city called Belize in Central America.
Right.
It's a Spanish country.
Right.
They contacted me. It says, "We want you to guest pose. You're the current Mr. America. We want you at the show. But it's not sanctioned by the IAPB."
Oh, okay. Back to that again.
That's what he said. I said, "I'm starving. I'll be there." So I posed, and you got to read this part. I arrived in the city to the hotel, and there was a telegram waiting for me. I read the telegram, and it says, "If you pose tomorrow, you will be suspended for life." That's what it said. So I posed, and life suspension now. And for about a year and a half, I was sleeping in my friend's sofa in his mom's house and in the hood, and I was everywhere, just trying to struggle, survive again. And yeah, so that's how I have a life suspension. And then I got reinstated back into the IFBB, and my very first show was in Sydney, Australia.
Which was?
And Arnold, Mr. Universe, because Arnold was eating in a restaurant here in Venice, California.
Yeah.
And he saw me, I come in, he goes, "Hey, you got reinstated, and why don't you go to Australia and win a contest for a change?"
What year was that?
1981.
That's right, the Pro Mr. Universe.
Yes.
At Brighton Lee Sands inside. I was sitting there watching that.
Really?
Yes, I was in the audience watching that. I saw you and Dennis Tenorino.
Yes.
And Roger Walker. You were
Roger Walker's,
were
yes.
You second or third?
Came third.
You came third. Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
That was my first show in an IFBB stage. First show.
Right. So
ever.
I didn't know when I saw you there. I didn't know all of this took place.
Oh yeah, the drama was drama.
Oh wow. Okay.
But moments before I go on stage, someone came to me and said, "You're never gonna win."
Really?
Straight out. A judge.
I've had that done to me as well. So obviously we've experienced a lot of the same stuff. But did this guy even see what you look like, or did he say it before you took your clothes off, or?
He just knew. He was delivering a message.
Can I ask who this person was?
I don't want to mention his name.
That's fine.
But it was a judge, for sure.
Judge.
So imagine you're all pumped up, ready to go, just before you go on stage, and you get that news.
Great. Just what you wanted to hear.
Yeah, so when I'm 20, how old was I then? 23, 24 years old. So from that moment, I looked at him and I go, I'm not in my own head, I'm not a competitor anymore. I'll make a living. So bodybuilding just became a way of doing seminars and exhibitions because I knew the word was out, I'm not going to win. So for the next 10 years, that's what I was dealing with,
But you won the NABA Mr. Universe. Was it the professional or the amateur?
Professional.
You won
Professional. So what happened was I suspended. Go back to Rhode Island. I guest pose in Rhode Island, do an amateur show, not IFBB show. And if you guest pose And this kid ran backstage. He looks at me. He goes, "God, man, you're in incredible shape. I'll drive you to New York. Mr. World is next week in New York." And I go, "Okay, let's go." And I won. So I win Mr. World, WBBG, Dan Lowry's show. And if you win, you get a ticket to London to compete for Mr. Universe Amateur.
So was this while you were serving your first suspension, or is this your second suspension now?
No, there's only one suspension. This is serving the first.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
only once. So I go to London, NABA, and I lose to, I came in second. Amateur, I came in second to Anlulu from Turkey. He had won.
Ahmed Anulu, yeah.
Yes, he had won quite a few shows.
Yeah.
I realized later he's been there many times before.
Yeah.
And I was a new kid on the block.
Yeah, I heard about the spirited pose down that happened at that contest. I did hear about.
Yes, they said one of the best. Him and I were just going crazy, just like me and Ron Tufa, the same thing, toe to toe, all out, 10 minutes, crowds going crazy. Yeah. But he wins. So of course I thought I won. Of course, we were all going to think he won. And then the following year, I was in Germany guest posing. Like I said, I'm always in contest shape.
Mm-hmm.
Guest posing, and Serge Nubret called me, and he goes, "You're in Germany. Why don't you come back to London, Universe, next week?" So I said, "Okay," and I won the pro. So yeah, I hit all the federations. I was in WABA because I won the WABA World. It was 1979. And so, yeah, all the federations.
Okay. And there was the Vince McMahon era.
Yes.
If you could tell us a little bit about that, because that, to me, I was just like in shock when it happened. The first thing I thought is, okay, well, he doesn't want me, but I wasn't well known, really. I wasn't in the mix with everybody, so I didn't know what that was all about.
Right.
I heard when people were with him, they made a lot of money.
Yes.
And yeah, if you could tell us a little bit about that, because it was an interesting time. It came and went real quick like that.
It did. I was in, where was I? In Germany, and just kind of hanging out. You know, I was doing some seminars, and work was not coming in. And my IFBB career was pretty much gone, was at the end, I think. So I was in Germany, and Tom Platz called me, and he said, "Hey, man, Vince is coming up with a new federation, the WBF, the World Bodybuilding Federation. And we want you because your stage presence is good, you perform well. We're looking for guys that can pose." So that's how I got the job. So I said, "Sure." And I flew to New York and signed the contract, and it lasted for 2 years. And yes, we all got paychecks.
What were they paying everyone? Did everybody get the same money? I'd probably say not.
No, not the same money. No. So I fly to New York, and I meet Vince. He's very serious. It's 1991. And we signed the contract. It was 13 of us, Mike Christian and Big Eric Stridham, and who else? Troy Zucalata, David Dirth. And we all signed the contracts, and everybody got different money, Yeah. I think Gary got the most. Yeah. I think it was the scale going down.
Okay.
But it was a paycheck, and I was making a bit of money at the time. Seminars and exhibitions are tough. You're traveling around the world and you're dieting the whole time. It's a hustle. Yeah. And I always said to myself for exhibition, I do not want the competitors to look better than me.
Yes.
So I'm the guest.
Yes.
So I make sure I'm 100% every time. And so with the events, it lasted for a couple of years. We had our own TV show. We had our own magazine. I mean, it was really exploding. And then all of a sudden, it was just, the light went out. I was there for 3 years, and I did the last year I did promotional tour for all the GNC health food stores for events, and that was it.
Tony, the next subject, we don't need to discuss it, but I wanted to bring it up because I know you're a very responsible person. Well, at least you seem to be. Anabolics and, you know, what we used to use.
Mm-hmm.
If we get some sort of, if you're comfortable, you know, what would have been a typical steroid cycle? Because I think a lot of your competitions, you may have actually been natural.
Yes. When I won Mr. Mary, I was natural.
Well, see, that's just incredible, because that's, you know, for somebody to actually be, I knew it was possible. I knew it was
Right.
possible, and you know, the fact this was something else. Like, you know, when I heard that, because I was one of these people, I was going to be natural forever, and you know, once you step on stage, and you know, you go to the next level, you want a level playing field, and I'm going, these guys are taking stuff. You know, it's like, what am I going to do now? You know, so
You have no
eventually
choice.
you do it. But I don't mind talking about what I did, and what I took, because it wasn't a lot. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Can we get some sort of background into what an honest cycle was for you, how long you did it for, what you took, you know, what happened afterwards? Just if you could enlighten us on that, please.
Yeah, you know, from the start, I was afraid of taking it. When you go to Gold's Gym in Santa Monica, you got the best of the best champions there training every
Yeah,
day. You don't know anything. There was no internet, so they're whispering in your ear.
yeah,
You know, a little bit of this and this, a little testosterone, Winstrol, Anavar. Basically, it was testosterone and a bit of and a Winstrol. That was it.
yeah,
Very small amounts. I mean, 1 cc, like every 10 days. And you go on for 6 to 8 weeks, and you come off, and you do the cycle again. That's it for the year. I mean, it wasn't like overkill. And I was afraid of it. I go, what's going to happen when my career is over? I would say, I'm an old soul. They're going to forget all about me, and I'm going to have all these medical issues. And I said, no, 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 no. I'm just going to do the work. I'm going to train till I drop. Take a little bit, enhance a little bit. So I never relied on it. And I always said to myself, I'm going to handle the same weights that when I'm on or when I'm off. So, you know what I mean? How you think you get weaker once you quit coming off. No, I'm going to do the same weights. It's all mental.
yeah.
Your mind's got to be strong. In bodybuilding, you got to have a strong heart and a strong mind,
Strong mind for sure.
because you're up against a lot. So I took very little, and yes, I admit I did take steroids, but a very small amount. I was afraid of it. What is it going to do to me later? Um,
Do you
and be
believe
very smart about it. You know, cycle it in, cycle off. You can't stay on all year long.
all year long? Do you
This is the
believe?
problem.
Do you believe now at an older age, in hormone replacement therapy, or do you just avoid that?
I don't have any replacement drugs. I
Sorry.
said when I said if I need it, I'll go to a doctor and see if I need it. But I don't think I need it. I'm still holding on to my muscle size. I'm still training. Uh, I think part of it psychologically, you think you need it. Oh, I need this edge. I need this. I need that. No, just do the work. Everyone's looking for an excuse, an easy way to get there. There is no easy way. I
So
destroyed my body completely, completely destroyed my body when I couldn't even walk in 2002 because I did the work. I trained myself, bum knee, back hurt every single day, but I still did the work. In pain, I'm on the heating pads, I'm taking this ibuprofen. So that's the key behind all of this. All this drugs, you're gonna have a very short career.
yeah,
Then you're gonna have medical issues, problems after that.
I wanted to ask you a particular question that I have here, but before I forget, this is very going back to the Mr. America. After the Ron Tufa incident, you were in a pose down. Tom Platz had placed third in the contest. Now, was this a new judging panel?
Yes,
Or
yes.
it was a new
They
judging panel.
immediately removed those judges and brought in a new set of judges, just like that. So I'm still in awe of what had just happened, me winning. And then I'm pushed out on stage against Tom Platz, Mr. Lakes himself.
Yeah,
And he beats me in the post down, of course. with a new set of judges.
Yeah. Was it a
So
complete contest or just a pose down?
it was just a pose down. It was just a pose down to see who would go.
Right. Who? So
Yeah.
it was you, Tom Platz, and anybody else in the pose down?
No, just Tom
Just
and
you
I.
and him.
Yeah. Now you got me thinking. That's bizarre. Because Ron Tufa didn't come back out.
No, he
He
didn't come.
was
He didn't come.
no. So
So
Manu
maybe
Perry was not in the pose down.
it was just you and Platz.
Yes.
Okay.
And
How did you feel
Platz
after that? Because I've thought about that for years, and I was once a judge, and I was faced with the same problem, right? And for me, when I was judging that contest, there was my training partner who was in the heavyweights, and then there was the guy in the middleweight who won the overall show, and then there was Lee Priest who was the lightweight in that particular contest.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys were posing down, and honestly, everybody was bickering with me as to what I thought should have happened. And what really influenced me as to what I should have done that day was from what happened to you at the Mr. America contest with Tom Platz, because it had such a profound effect on me. You know, when I used to see all of that, and I'm going, well, today, what am I doing here? And I figured, why did they do that to Tony? Why did they send Platz? And am I doing the same thing here today? Who am I picking? Am I picking the person that looks best, or the person that's going to represent Australia the best overseas? Which created a lot of confusion. And I even started talking to the other judges about it, which you weren't supposed to do.
No.
And I'm like, but Tony Pearson, Tom Platz, you're not even supposed to talk. Let's, you know, pick who you feel. And I said, well, the way you guys are judging, you're picking the wrong person, I felt, because he was the winner of the contest. But I was right, because when they went overseas, my training partner into the heavyweight division, he made the top 5. The guy that won the contest didn't even make the top 15 in the Mr. Universe contest. So when they were judging these two guys, I said, well, hold on. If you're going to do this, let me bring another person in here. So I called out Lee Priest, who had won the lightweight division in that contest. And I said, well, if you want to confuse everybody, let's take it even further. Let's put him in.
Yes.
So as it turned out, the person that I picked didn't win. The winner of the contest won the pose down. So the other guys went to the universe and they paid their own way. So one person had a ticket paid, you know. So that greatly influenced me and confused me quite a bit. What happened with you and Tom Platz affected me years later, because I was trying to do the right thing.
Right.
And it was a big influence. It was a big influence.
Yes.
And even now, you're even confused about it now. It was only you and Tom Platz on stage. How did you feel afterwards? Tell me how you felt afterwards, because if that was me, I would have, I don't know what I would have done. You know?
I didn't know what to say. You know, from my background to that point, I was shy, introverted, didn't know how to express myself.
Yeah.
And I just took it. I just took the beating. You know, he wins. I just won Mr. America. Now he's going to go down and win Mr. Universe, which he did.
Yeah.
And that was it. So, but the new judging panel felt he would represent the sport better than I. That's what I'm looking back and saying, okay, he's going to be, you know, he got to cover the magazines, he could sell the product. Yeah. So that's what that was, I think. I mean, you know, I was the underdog going to win the Mr. America.
Yep.
Ron Tufa had all the publicity.
Yep.
It was pumped up really big for him. So, and then I win. So that's kind of spoiled the plan. You know, to me, I think it was kind of ready for him to win. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think he won the USA. He was going to win Mr. America and go straight and win the universe.
Yeah.
I think that was his path to win the universe too, right after. But he didn't make it. So the next guy, Tom Platz, who came second to him in class. So it fits.
Okay, now back to today, Tony. Do you know what's actually going on in today's bodybuilding? I'm not sure. I hear some horrific stories. steroids and drugs and just some of the amounts of things that have been handled. Do you know about this problem, Tony? Are you aware of what's going on?
I hear bits and pieces about it because a lot of the pros live here in town. Vegas is a new mecca of bodybuilding now. A lot of pros live here. And I get to hear stuff. They're on taking so much and it's all year long and they're never coming off. And they will do anything it takes to win, anything to win, whatever it takes, we will do. And, it's risky. You're risking your life.
But this is
for that title.
Yeah.
Is it really worth it? But everyone's on, so you can't say I'm drug free. So it's not like the old days. You get away, with Vince McMahon, he was drug testing at the end. I was clean every show. At those shows, I didn't have a problem with it. But this is the problem with the guys today. They, like I said, they're taking too much and for too long, and you're gonna burn out. Your body just can't take it. And the size issue, that's another problem too. Your heart can't take it.
Well, but this is what I was discussing before. You said it's too late. We should have done it 10 years ago. But with everything you've mentioned now and what the body can and can't take, this is why I'm thinking this has to change. Maybe
Yes.
we can't see what's going to happen, but looking at all the facts of what you've just described, because now all the pros are in town. You hear and see things. You've got evidence of things that other people don't, and you've just said it all there. The body can't take it. These people are going to die. So there's the reason for change, and if we don't cause a change at any time at all, well, they're probably all going to die off.
That's what happened. That's what's going to happen. I really think so because
So
every year the guys are getting bigger and bigger. I've just watched the magazine, listened online, and the quote is, "He's bigger this time." It's not about big. It's not about big. It's about art. I mean, you have 10 guys standing, all massive, 200 pounds. They weigh like 300 pounds each almost.
Yep.
When it flex, nothing happens.
Nothing happens.
Nothing happens. You're supposed to project something as an artist when you flex. Me standing on stage in a relaxed pose, I don't look that impressive. Only when I flex, things pop out. I used to hear it all the time. Oh my God, where does it come from? Every time you flex.
You look good standing relaxed. You have a very good structure, but when you flex,
it changes.
It was like Arnold. He could look soft standing relaxed.
Right.
When he flexed, and that's what you look very good standing relaxed, but when you flex, stuff happens.
Right. And that's what Ken Sprague said on Good Morning America, said when he flex, things happen. But that's what bodybuilding is. You're creating something, you're creating an illusion that you're bigger, sharper than anybody else. It's an illusion. With the proper lighting, great conditioning, great symmetry, proportion, and presentation, you're an artist. You just created something. And that's the true essence of bodybuilding. It's not the biggest guy on stage. They're going to hate me, but it's true.
It's true. I agree with you 100%.
I mean, look at Kai Green. Kai Green always had a routine.
Yep.
I was excited for him to come on stage because he's going to present something that's exciting. And the crowd was, 100% behind him. So, yeah, I mean, these guys, you can't tell them anything. I mean, they know what they're doing. They're the experts.
Yep.
But I'm outside looking in. I go, doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't.
Your heart can only take so much.
So, Tony, I haven't spent much time in Vegas. I lived in New York. I know Los Angeles. What's it like living in Vegas? Generally, when I've been there, it's like sticking my head inside an oven, and there's no people on the street. Everything's air conditioned. And
oh yeah.
You don't see anybody on the streets. Is it still like that?
It's still like that because summers are 110, 115, 120 degrees. It's really hot and it's dry. We're in the desert.
Yep.
And even now we have humidity, which we never had before, but there's more humidity in the air here as well. So, but only maybe 4 or 5 months out of the year that it's hot like that. Vegas gets very cold.
It does.
And
does it? Okay.
Yes. From October to March, basically, it's cold here because of the desert and the wind. There's a lot of wind blowing, so it's a. You think of Vegas, you just think hot. No, not so. Um, you know, I live on the opposite side of town, so I don't go down to the casinos at all.
Yeah.
I have no reason to go down there. I don't gamble. I don't party. I don't do drugs. None of that stuff. So I just stay on the opposite side of town. Go to my normal gym. I have my clients. I got a tiny little circle that I go in. That's it.
Sure.
I go. There's a lot of shows here in town, so I might go watch your pro show in town.
Okay.
IABB has a lot of shows here.
Your last contest weighed at the AAU Mr. Universe. What did you weigh there, and what do you weigh now?
About the same. I kind of transform. I think I weighed about 190, and I'm maybe at 185 now.
Okay.
I was not as big, but I was really cut. I made sure conditioning was going to be there and presentation is going to be there. I don't have the same size of fullness as I had back in the day. It's almost impossible at this age. But I wanted to project every time I flex, cuts coming from different directions, muscle separation. So I kind of did, I stole a lot from Frank Zane, how he sculpted his own body. He created a lot of different exercises to do from different angles. And that's what I try to do as well.
Okay.
So you hit a lat spread to check the cuts coming from all over the place.
Yeah.
The back poses, or the peak in the arms, So it's how you train. You are a piece of clay and you can sculpt it. But that takes time to learn. You got to learn your own body. So all this stuff online about training, everybody's different. All my clients that I train have different needs, different wants, metabolism, everything is different. So each individual have to make it work for them. Give them the right exercise, tell them what to eat, all these things. So it's
Tony,
a lot of work.
What next for you?
No more stage appearances. That's it.
So no guest posing, no seminars?
No. They filmed my win. It's in the documentary where I win the show and I wave to the crowd, and that's retirement. So, and they said to me, "You can't come out of retirement again." It's in the movie. So no, I mean, just personally, I said it's enough because my body went through a lot of changes after that show. So to recover from that show,
it was not easy.
No steroids because it was drug tested. So, but it took a toll on me.
Okay.
I mean, for me to say I'm not going to do the show, I must have been suffering.
Okay.
So,
Tony, was such a delight talking to you. Honestly, over the years we've spoken. I remember even once you helped me in a photo shoot that I was doing with Chris Lund. And yeah, it was at Marina Pacific, and I couldn't get the weights up, and you and somebody else helped pick up a couple of heavy dumbbells so Chris could shoot it. And you gave me one of the best compliments I've ever received. You said to me, "Geez, when you get hard, you get as hard as nails." Unfortunately, I didn't look like that on stage, but that day at the photo shoot, you really made my day when you said that. I just thought I'd mention that. And is there anybody that you'd like to thank, your family, Jim, anything you want to mention just before we close off?
Yeah, I just want to thank George for one, because without that man, I would never be. And then Arnold, what Arnold said to me that day was the key for me to become a real bodybuilder. I went out there to become a bodybuilder, but you know how when you're 19 years old, you don't know what the hell you're doing. You're just kind of working out and hanging out with your buddies. But when he came over and said that was the trigger, that was the point, I said, this is it. This is what I'm going to do 100%. I want to be a world champion. What do I need to do? So I want to thank Arnold for, discovering me. I mean, really getting inside my head. You need one person that's going to motivate you. And I had the best person on the planet at the time. Right. So all the negative press that I got behind that, I always remember what he said. I didn't read the articles anymore. So just keep moving forward, never quit. Of course, my family, and my friends, I had a lot of, like Kent Keene was a great guy. He always in my corner. He always supported me. And I'm starving, he'll feed me. You know, there's so many people. You never make it to the top without people helping
Yeah.
you. There's no one gets to the top alone. So there was a lot of people. I was homeless. People invite me to their home to live in their home. So all these people, wonderful, great people, and I've just been blessed. I've been blessed that I was able to survive that 20. Imagine 20 years on the game within exhibitions and seminars and competing. I was on stage almost every other week for all that time. So that's a blessing. It's because mentally, it's a mental game.
Yep.
Got to be mentally strong enough to survive all of that. So it's been a long ride. And the last show that I did, I wanted to finish it at home, so that was it. So there's a lot of people to thank, and I want to thank the Weeders because I wrote in my book, without them, I would have no career. Yep. They said, "Oh, you're criticizing the Weeders." Yeah, I'm only telling what happened to me. But without the Weeders, there is no career. I mean, NABA, I hit the NABA, did WABA, did all the other federations, but you come back home. Seminars, exhibition, and that's where you get your publicity because there's no internet, so you get it through the magazine. So I'm grateful for the Weeders to allow me to have a career. I wasn't winning, but I was working.
Well, Tony, thank you very much. I'm hoping that if we may do another one of these at some stage in the future. But it was such a delight talking to you today, and I'm sure the group, classicbodybuilding.com, will love hearing from you, and I'm sure it's going to be very enjoyable and entertaining to hear anything from you. You're a legend. You've been an inspiration to many, including me, especially what you did at the Mr. America. And thank you very much for coming on and sparing the time to do this. It's very much appreciated, and you have the book.
Yes.
And all the best for the future, Tony.
I appreciate it. I appreciate being on your show. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
This is awesome.